Everyone, welcome back to the channel. In today's video I'm going to be talking about why I switched back to the Mac, why I think the new Macs are actually very good value for money, and also why I think the new M1 Macs are so important for the laptop and PC industry going forward. If you enjoyed this video, please remember to like and subscribe. So first off, I actually want to just quickly go through the history of my sort of computer usage. I've always been a Windows user up until 2009 when I went to university. I actually switched to a Macbook Pro because laptops those days, I think the Apple laptops were by far the best. At that time, Windows laptops were really bad. So that's why I transitioned over to the Mac then. And I used the MacBook Pro for about 4 or 5 years, and then I bought an iMac. And I used that until I think 2018. I decided that I actually wanted to do a little bit of light gaming, which I couldn't really do on an iMac. So I decided to sell my iMac and build my own PC because I thought building my own PC would be slightly cheaper, and I kind of thought it would be a nice little bit of a challenge. The PC I built wasn't exactly super high end, but specs wise it was far superior to my iMac. And for the money I got from selling the iMac went straight towards paying for the whole of the PC build. So I actually didn't end up having to pay anything really, and I just got a far higher spec machine. Better specs aside, I actually really regretted my decision to switch from Mac to Windows, mainly because I just felt I just really didn't enjoy using Windows operating system anymore. Even though I use it for work like every day, I just constantly encountered bugs when I'm at work, and then I thought, well, I built my own machine. Surely my machine's going to be so much better than like the work, like PCs and laptops. But even though it was powerful, it just kept constantly like crashing, and just weird bugs would constantly appear, and I just didn't really like the interface. And so yeah, I really did regret it pretty quickly. So I knew I wanted to go back to a Mac, but I needed to wait a few more years, get a few years of use out of my own PC, which I built before moving back. But it actually slowed down a lot sooner than I expected, which really did start to annoy me. So when Apple announced that they were going to be producing their own ARM-based chips, I think it was last year, sort of summertime, I was really following the news quite a lot, just to see what the performance was going to be and to see kind of what benchmarks were coming out. I wasn't going to be an early adopter because I really wanted to see what reviewers had to say about the new M1 machines. Because they are brand new, you just never know. I just didn't want to dive straight into a brand new product. However, I think within the first week or two, people were flooding YouTube and writing articles about just how good the new M1 Macs were. And not only were they amazing in performance, they were really efficient as well, which made them great laptop machines. I built my PC on a tight budget because I knew that even on a tight budget I could still build a PC which was going to be much higher performing than my then iMac. But now with the M1 Max I can buy a really affordable machine which is high performing and high efficiency without having to go to Windows. I mean, another key factor of why I went with the M1 Mac the time I did was because my girlfriend was going to be in Hong Kong around the time the M1 was going to be released, so I could get it even cheaper than I could buying it straight in the UK. And I think that the UK price is actually very reasonable, so the fact that I could get it even cheaper just kind of sealed the deal for me. I feel there's a real change in the winds ever since that Apple have announced and released the new M1 machines. Before the M1 Macs were released, Apple computers were always seemed to be kind of really expensive and kind of lacked the performance you'd be getting for that price point, on paper anyways, which was true because you could actually buy a computer or a laptop for much less with higher on paper specs. But I think what some people kind of overlook is it's not just down to the paper specs. When you're paying for, say, like a MacBook Pro, you're actually getting a really nicely built machine with a good screen, a good keyboard, good speakers as well. Sometimes it's not always just about the raw paper specs. It's something which I looked at, and I think that's what a lot of people will look at. It's just the raw numbers on the spec sheet. But really, it's a lot more than that. A lot can play into how efficient a machine is. I think you need to remember that they're using different operating systems the macOS operating system will use resources differently to Windows, which can very much optimize different software for the hardware it's got. A really good example of this is that iPhones have notoriously had less RAM than Android counterparts, like even their flagships iPhones, compared to say like a Samsung Galaxy. You'd have like significantly less RAM, probably over 50% less RAM, but it never felt slow because iOS is so well optimized for the hardware that it just didn't need that extra RAM, compared to Android, where if you don't have that much RAM it can really feel sluggish. So if you overlooked all the things I just said and just focus purely on the paper specs, Mac machines were overpriced. However, with the Mac processors you really are getting like top of the range performance for its price point, as well as all the other things I just said. So like great battery, screen, keyboard, speakers, all these other things make it such a compelling purchase now. So I think you're now able to buy a Mac machine without feeling that you're getting completely shortchanged. I feel that the value has increased so much that you're just no longer paying a premium for that Apple badge. You're getting that sort of Apple fanboy badge, but so much more with it. I switched from my iMac to a Windows machine because the cost to performance ratio for the Windows machine was just so much better. No one has ever said that the cost to performance ratio of a Mac has ever been good until now with these M1 machines. If you want to watch a video which compares benchmarks between the M1 Max and an AMD processor, go check out Snazzy Lab's latest video. I'll put a link in the description below. The rumours of the M1 chips are just around the corner, and I can't wait to see what kind of performance they'll be bringing. We gotta remember that the M1 Max are actually the base level or the entry level machines, so even though they're really high performing at the moment, they are actually going to be the lowest performance machines of the Apple lineup. I know I've been talking a lot about Apple, but I'm actually also really excited to see what the other players in the industry are going to be doing. We've seen recently that Intel has fallen from grace and AMD has started to really outperform Intel as well. Microsoft have also entered the fight, announcing that they're going to be building their own custom ARM chips as well. Previously, I think in the Surface Pro X, I think they were using a ARM processor, but it wasn't built by them. It was, I think it was a Snapdragon processor. So I think it'll be really interesting to see what Microsoft can do as well. I think it's always good to see competition, even though I do really like Apple products. You really do need good competition, because otherwise I think Apple will get maybe not totally complacent, but you want them to be, staying sharp on their feet to produce, good value and good top quality products. Anyways, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please remember to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next one. Cheers.